boys and girls. Today we're going to talk about problem and solution. Problem and solution is a way that a lot of stories are organized. A lot of times when you're telling a story to someone, you start out by telling about who it's about, the characters and where they are, the setting, and then you tend to follow a certain pattern of storytelling that focuses us on a problem or something that a character in the story wants to change, fix, or figure out. Something that goes wrong, something that they would like to see fixed some way. Okay? Usually the events in the story take us from having a problem or something that's wrong to having a solution or a way to solve that problem. Okay? The solution is the way that a problem is solved or fixed. Usually the problem is introduced at the beginning of the story. We build up to find out, different events that help us to come to a solution. Okay? Problem and solution. See how these are kind of cut out to be puzzle pieces and how they fit together? The solution has to fit the problem in order to fix it or in order to solve that problem. We're going to work with problem and solution today as we read passages and stories together. Boys and girls, now we're going to read a passage and we're going to identify the characters, as in the people or animals in the story. We're going to identify the setting, as in where the story takes place. And then we're going to try to identify the problem, as in what happened, what went wrong, and the solution, as in how that problem is eventually solved or fixed. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is read the story together. If you get stuck on a word, skip that word and pick up with the next one that you know. Please read with me. 1, 2, 3. Jack was at his grandma's house playing with his brother Sam. They were throwing the ball back and forth. Jack threw the ball really hard. Crash! It hit a lamp and broke it. Jack and Sam were scared they might get in trouble. Jack did not know what to do. Grandma came into the room. She looked upset. Sam was crying. Jack decided to tell the truth. He had broken the vase. His grandma was glad he told the truth, and together they cleaned up the mess. Okay, so let's go back into our story now. And let's look for those characters first. Remember, characters are people or animals in the story. Well, if I look at the picture, I realize that there must be 2 characters at least in this story, right? Just from the illustration alone. One of those boys is Jack, and the other is Sam. There's another person in this story. Do you remember? If you said Grandma, you did great. Grandma is the other character who is talked about in the story. Now let's think about the setting. The setting is where the story is taking place. Where were Sam and Jack? If you remember that they were at Grandma's house, I'm really proud of you. Nice job. So Sam and Jack were at Grandma's house. And you want to think about what they were doing. Well, they were throwing a ball back and forth. Is throwing a ball back and forth a problem? No, not really, right? That's an action. They were having a nice time. Then Jack threw the ball really hard. Crash! It hit a lamp and broke it. Is that a problem? I think so. That would be a problem in my house, right? If I broke something, I'd be upset about it. If I was in someone else's house and broke something, I'd really be upset. So the problem is that they broke a lamp. Well, what are they going to do to solve that problem? That's the solution that we need to find next. The solution is going to come after the problem, so I need to continue reading. Jack and Sam were scared they might get in trouble. Okay, that I would feel scared too. But is that a way that they solved a broken lamp? No, Jack did not know what to do. Well, I understand feeling that way, but I don't think that that's an actual solution to a broken lamp either. We need to keep reading. Grandma came into the room. She looked upset. Okay, so Grandma showed up. There's an adult now. Did she immediately solve their problem? No. Let's keep reading. Sam was crying. I understand why Sam would cry, but is that a solution to the problem? When you cry, does it just automatically fix things? In this case, Sam was crying, but did that fix that the lamp was still broken? No. Jack decided to tell the truth. He had broken the vase. His grandma was glad he told the truth, and together they cleaned up the mess. Well, that seems like a solution. Jack told the truth. That was the first step. He had broken the vase. Okay, so he confessed. He explained what happened. And then his grandmother didn't yell. She was glad because he told the truth. Telling the truth is really the most important thing most of the time. If you do something wrong and make a mistake, it's okay. People will understand if you're honest. Look, together they cleaned up the mess. Is that a solution to the broken lamp? Yes. So if you look at the structure of this story, our characters and setting tend to be introduced at the beginning of the story. Then the problem is introduced. And later, towards the end of the story, the solution is provided. Boys and girls, what I'd like us to do is I'd like us to practice the problem and solution strategy again, reading another story. This time, it's a story about Katie and her dog, Max. Please read this story with me. Do your best reading. If you get stuck on a word, skip it and pick up with the next word that you know. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Katie loved her dog Max so much. He was a little spotted dog who loved to play fetch. On Wednesday, when Katie got home from school, she went to her room and looked for Max. She looked in the garage. She looked in the yard. She looked everywhere. No Max. She was sad. Katie was getting worried. She had an idea. She got out Max's favorite treats and began to call him. Suddenly, Max came running from her brother's room. He had been sleeping under the bed. Katie was so happy to have her dog back. All right, boys and girls, right now, on your own, I'd like you, with just a piece of paper and a pencil, to write down the characters in the story. Look back and think, who is the story about? Write down the names of the people and animals that the story told about. Good. You should have written down Katie and Max. Now, I'd like you to go back into the story, and again, using your own paper and pencil at home right now, I want you to write down the setting from the story, as in where is the story taking place? Write down the setting now. You should have written down Katie's house, really, right? It says when Katie got home from school, she went to her room and looked for Max. She looked in the garage, in the yard, finally under her brother's bed. So really this is happening at Katie's house, okay? Now I'd like you to go back into the story, and I'd like you to find the problem. Remember, the problem is something that goes wrong in the story. What problem did our main character have in this story? Right now, on your own, I'd like you to write that down using your paper and pencil. What you should have written down is that Katie looked everywhere but did not find Max. That's the problem. She doesn't know where Max is. And as a result of not knowing where Max is, she starts to feel worried. So she needs to solve this problem, right? She needs to figure out where Max is. So what is her solution? Right now, on your own with your paper and pencil, I'd like you to write down, how does Katie fix the problem? How is her problem solved? What is the solution to not knowing where Max is? If you wrote that Katie got out Max's favorite treats and began to call him, and that Max came running, that would be a great answer. If you wrote down that Katie found Max, that's a great answer also. That is how the problem was eventually resolved. She used treats to help her find Max. Nice job, boys and girls. Boys and girls, at this point, I'd like you to practice identifying the characters, setting, as well as the problem, what went wrong in the story, and the solution, how that problem was fixed or solved. I'd like you to practice this on your own. This is a passage about Sarah and her cat Fluffy. I'd like you to pause your video now. Using a paper and pencil, I'd like you to read the story and then identify the characters, setting, problem, and solution.